She kissed her ex-boyfriend right in front of me. It was October 15th, 2024, and Alina and I decided to celebrate 3 years together. We chose a small restaurant in the city center, La Vie, where we had wanted to go for a while but just never got the chance. That day, I finally felt like everything in my life was falling into place. After several tough years, during which I was laid off twice, worked night shifts to make ends meet, and even lost my apartment, this was one of those rare moments when it seemed like everything would be okay. Alina was always my support. She stayed with me when I lost my job in 2022 and helped me find the strength to keep going. We started planning for the future, talking about traveling, renting a new apartment together, and maybe even getting a dog. And on this evening, with the sound of jazz and soft candlelight, I was already imagining how soon I would propose to her. But life, as always, has its own plans. Sometimes it seems like everything is deliberately working against you. In the middle of dinner, while we were laughing at an old joke, she suddenly froze. Her expression changed in an instant, eyes wide open, mouth slightly agape, as if she had seen a ghost. I turned my head to see what was happening. There he was, Maxim, her ex, tall, confident, in a suit as if he had just come from a presentation. And at that moment, I realized that this evening was about to turn into a nightmare for me. Alina didn't say anything. She just got up and walked toward him. And then came the thing that I couldn't wrap my head around. She pressed against him and kissed him. It wasn't some friendly hello, it was a real kiss. I sat at the table, watching this scene, paralyzed. I remember a thought flashing through my mind. Maybe I was always just a temporary replacement for her. Comments from users. Heartbreaker 2022. This is incredibly cruel. When you trust someone and make plans, and they do this to you, it's horrible. My heart goes out to you, brother. Silent observer. You know, I've been betrayed too, and it was the hardest trial. But in the end, it opens your eyes. Sometimes it's better to see the truth sooner rather than later. Coffee_and_regrets. Another proof that some people just can't leave the past behind. I feel for you, but this could be a chance to start a new life without her. After she kissed Maxim, time seemed to freeze. I sat at the table in La Vie, feeling an emptiness spreading through my chest. My heart was beating fast, but inside, everything felt dead. She returned to the table as if nothing had happened and gave a slight smile, as though nothing extraordinary had occurred. Sorry, Mark, I was just surprised to see him here, she said without a hint of remorse. It was 8:45 p.m. I looked at the clock, as if trying to confirm that this was still reality, and not some terrible dream. My fingers trembled nervously as I reached for the wine glass. Over the years I had endured a lot, losing my job during the pandemic, almost losing my home, working 2 jobs without days off. But what had just happened now was the hardest blow. I thought Alina was the one person who had supported me. And now, I wasn't sure if she ever truly loved me. One thought kept spinning in my head: why did this happen to me? I was convinced that I had already suffered enough in this life. My friends are getting married, taking out mortgages, having kids. And me? I'm sitting here, watching the woman I love kiss her ex right in front of me. I tried to find an excuse for her. Maybe it was just an impulse. Maybe she couldn't control herself. But inside, anger was already boiling, mixing with pain and disappointment. I wanted to leave everything and go, leave her with this, Maxim, and their past. But my legs wouldn't move, and my thoughts kept circling around one question: what am I to her? A backup plan? A temporary person until she goes back to the one she really loves? Her gaze was so calm, as if nothing important had happened. And I sat in front of her, feeling completely shattered. 3 years had felt like a solid foundation for the future. But one moment, one kiss, and it all crumbled like a house of cards. User comments, /broken spirits. I felt that pain while reading your story. It's like the whole world came crashing down on you at once. Hang in there, brother, things will definitely get better. Second choice Anon. I was once left for an ex just like you. You did nothing wrong. Some people just can't leave the past in the past. Midnight escape. It's brutal when the person you trust betrays you so coldly. But now you know the truth, and that will help you move on. I sat in the car in the lobby parking lot for about half an hour after Alina had left. It was already 10:15 p.m., and I couldn't bring myself to hit the gas and just drive home. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, as if it would somehow keep reality from completely falling apart. Thoughts raced through my mind. What now? End it all? Give it another chance? 3 years together aren't so easy to just throw away. But can I forgive what had happened right before my eyes? For those 3 years, I felt like a swimmer constantly battling waves. Unemployment, debts, night shifts. I survived it all by telling myself there was someone by my side helping me stay afloat. But now it turns out that the very person I relied on had abandoned me in the middle of the storm. How can you continue trusting someone who so easily gave in to a whim and kissed her ex? I remember how we met in November 2021, at a small party with friends. We laughed a lot that evening, and I thought I had finally met someone special. But now all of that felt like a massive lie. Maybe I was always just a backup plan for her. Maybe she was just waiting for the right moment to go back to him. One question kept throbbing in my head: what did I do wrong? I tried to calm myself down. Maybe it was just an impulse, I asked myself, but the answer didn't bring any relief. My heart already knew what I was afraid to admit. If a person is capable of doing something like this once, they'll do it again. I imagined myself a year, 2 years from now. What if she runs into Maxim or someone else again? I could no longer trust her the way I used to. Trust is fragile, and when it breaks, piecing it back together is nearly impossible. I decided to stay in the car a little longer and let the wave of emotions pass. I wanted to go home, but what would that change? A few of her things were still in my apartment, and I already knew collecting them was just a matter of time. This was the end, even if she hadn't realized it yet. Or maybe she had, and she just didn't care anymore. User comments, Never Again 123. You know, your story really hit me. It's tough when you're building a future with someone, and in one moment, the ground is ripped out from under you. Hang in there, man. Time heals, even though it hurts right now. Lost trust forever. My ex did something similar, and I also tried to find excuses. But the truth is, people don't change unless they want to. She's already shown you her true colors. Just let go. Trust your instincts more. If your heart is telling you that trust is already lost, it won't come back. Sometimes the best decision is just to walk away. Woke up the next morning, October 16th, and immediately felt the same emptiness that had torn me apart the night before. It seemed like nothing had changed, even after a few hours of sleep. Waking up next to Alina usually brought me a sense of peace. But today she wasn't there, and all I could feel in the air was a heavy weight. We hadn't spoken since that scene at the restaurant. She hadn't written, hadn't called, and I couldn't bring myself to take the first step either. Her things were still in my apartment, a book she'd been reading since July, I think, a toothbrush in the bathroom, her favorite hoodie draped over the back of a chair. I knew that now they were just things, stripped of any emotional meaning. That was all that was left of us. After a long time thinking it over, I decided to send her a short message. We need to talk. Pick up your things when you can. I sent it and tossed my phone onto the couch. Immediately, I felt lighter, even if only for a moment. It was my first step toward freeing myself from the relationship that had collapsed with just one kiss. When she arrived at 5:30 p.m., I tried to stay calm. She didn't say much, just started packing her things into a bag. I stood by the door, watching as our life together was packed away into just a few items. In the end, she turned and said, "I didn't mean to hurt you, Mark. I'm sorry." But I no longer heard anything in her words except emptiness. They sounded as ordinary as an apology for stepping on someone's foot. I simply nodded. And just like that, it ended. No tears, no fights, no drama. Just silence and the feeling that 3 years of my life had been nothing more than another lesson. But I finally felt free. And that was a new, unfamiliar feeling, freedom from the hope that had been dragging me down. User comments, mindful break. You made the right choice, buddy. It hurts now, but sometimes life demands that we leave behind people who aren't ready to move forward with us. Let it burn. When things fall apart that quickly, it means they weren't strong to begin with. Now you have a chance to build something new with someone who deserves it. Fresh Start 2024. Now you're on the path to healing. The main thing is not to go back. If she left once, she'll leave again.